Welcome to the Primetime News Bulletin here on Joy News on Multi TV. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, Ministry of Health set to announce final results of tests on suspected case of Ebola involving U.S. citizen quarantined at health facility in Accra. Government downplays talk of doom and gloom resulting from current economic challenges, insisting it is working hard to fix the economy. Government accuses striking Polytechnic teachers of bad faith on their demand for book and research allowances. Ahead of another ECOWAS summit in Accra this weekend, the police is advising motorists to take note of roads that will be closed to the public to prevent repeat of last May's traffic nightmare. And Black Stars capturing a somewhat. There's also business, sports, showbiz, and international news in the bulletin. Stay tuned.
News at 8 with Israel Live.
The Ministry of Health is set to announce the final results of tests on an American citizen in Ghana suspected to have contracted the Ebola virus. Although preliminary tests ruled out Ebola, researchers at the Noguchi Memorial Institute are set to be conducting further tests to confirm the initial findings. The preliminary results coincide with reports about the death of the patient who was quarantined at a clinic here in Accra.
News has learned the U.S. citizen who was quarantined at the Nyahu clinic in Accra on suspicion of carrying the Ebola virus died Monday night. He is said to have fallen ill following trips to Guinea and Sierra Leone, two countries that are experiencing the worst of the Ebola outbreaks, with 305 deaths in Guinea and 101 in Sierra Leone since February. Though initial tests conducted on the patient came out negative for the Ebola virus, the Health Ministry says it is awaiting the final result expected to be made available tonight. The PR for the ministry says the ministry will make the findings known when they become available.
The minister will be talking to the press. We're only waiting today to get the final result from Noguchi Memorial Institute, and then the minister will talk to the press.
All right, so that final result that Tony Goodman, the PR of the Health Ministry, was talking about is now in. We've just gotten the statement from the Ministry of Health, and it says that it starts with the heading. It says, no Ebola case recorded in Ghana. And it goes on to say the Ministry of Health wishes to bring to the notice of the public the current Ebola situation in the sub-region, and particularly in Ghana, Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia, continue reporting increasing number of Ebola cases. And it goes on to give statistics as pertaining in the rest of the sub-region and talks about the Ghana case. It says Ghana had a test case a few days ago when a foreign national with travel history of a visit to one of the affected countries. He fell sick and was rushed to one of our hospitals, and the clinical presentation led us to suspect Ebola virus disease. As most of us are aware, specimens have been sent to the Noguchi Memorial Institute for medical research, and results are negative. We have on the line right now the Public Relations Officer of the Health Ministry, and he's going to be speaking to us. Good evening to you, Mr. Goodman, and thanks for joining us. So what else can you tell us about the results that just come out that says that the test results are actually negative?
Yeah, thank you very much, Isaac, and then good evening to our listeners. What I want to quickly say is that at least it's a good news for us.
Yeah.
We've all been in this fear for 3 to 4 days now. So where we are now, we can rest, assured that the ministry is really working. Look, if you look at the time we are issuing this statement, that tells you that we are making sure that we are on point. We are not leaving any stone unturned. We'll make sure that whatever information there is to provide to the public, we will do that. But we are not saying that because we've issued statement that there is no Ebola in Ghana, we can go ahead and continue doing some of the things. We've asked that let's maintain the normal hygienic condition that we all taught in basic school, so that all of us will be safe at the end of the day.
All right. Now, there have been some questions that have been raised with regards to this particular case that has come up. And the capability of the Noguchi Memorial, Institute, which is conducting the test, the ability or the capability of this institute to actually ascertain whether or not the cases that we're getting are actually of the Ebola virus. How do you respond to that? Because people say that it's taken quite a while for the institute to come out with its findings.
I keep saying that those who did not do basic science or did not do science at all and had some basic education or did some basic science in school, when you go to the lab, it takes time to come to conclusion. You have to do a lot of tests to be able to say this is positive or negative. Even at that level, let's not bastardize our institution. This is world acclaimed institution. Noguchi has been accredited by WHO. So please, let's shift our attention from those who want to go that way and then look at the positive.
All right, let's talk about this case that was tested, the case that was sent to the quarantine at the Nyaho medical facility. We're told that this gentleman, the U.S. citizen, is dead. Can you confirm that for us?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, we were told last time that he passed away, so quickly we had to move in there and quarantine patients who were working on him and also quickly pick the body and deposit at a place according to international standards. So those were done. So as I speak to you, we've directed that those who were really quarantined at that facility should be released, and then the body will be released to the embassy as soon as possible.
Now, under what circumstances did he arrive in the country?
Oh, we keep saying that the maturity for this Ebola case or this hemorrhagic fever normally is 21 days. So you can come strong, but later when it gets to some of those stages. But the man came into this country very strong. It's not as if he came with some deformity or some illness. When you get to the border, we keep saying that we have a strong institution there at the border, and they are really looking out for. We've put up a lot of measures that will quickly pick up some of those signals. So, yes, we are looking at it, and the man, I believe, was strong before entering the country.
All right. Thank you very much. Tony Goodman is the Public Relations Officer of the Ministry of Health. And the news is that there is no Ebola case recorded in Ghana. The tests that were done on the American that was quarantined at the Nyaho medical facility came out negative. So Ghana is out of the woods at the moment. But the Ministry of Health goes on to say that people should continue to be very vigilant. We're staying with the health sector, where more money is to be channeled into the provision of accessible, basic yet quality healthcare as part of efforts to improve delivery to particularly rural settings. The Ministry of Health is hoping to achieve this by building more community health centers in the country.
According to Sherry Aite, delivery of quality health care remains a priority to the ministry, and as such, the ministry is now rechanneling its resources into the construction and development of community health centers. She said this has become necessary so as to cater for the health needs of the large number of people in rural areas.
In my office, I receive a lot of letters. We want district hospital. We want district hospital. But I think that building hospitals is actually not providing the proper service, because I travel a lot, and sometimes we can travel about 50 kilometers, you don't even see a health post. You don't. You travel about 50 kilometers before you see small health posts. So for me, accessibility, access to basic, healthcare. So I believe strongly in the CHIP system, that if we can provide community health centers to every community, assign community nurses, assign midwives, at least we'll be able to deal with the basic health problems at the community level.
Speaking at a press conference organized by the Ghana Health Service on the theme Strengthening Clinical Services, the minister further charged hospitals and other health service providers to use their internally generated funds to the benefit of the general public and the well-being of patrons, since government was already spending so much money on the maintenance and day-to-day running of the various hospitals.
Recently, government spent almost $200 million retooling hospitals, replacing obsolete equipment at no cost to the hospitals. We have been sending CT scan, this, that. We've been sending. The hospitals are saying thank you. But then, we send you equipment, patients come, you collect money, and then when the equipment breaks down, you write to Ministry of Health that we should bring money to come and repair the equipment. I mean, it's not acceptable. Dr. Kaba, I mean, for clinical care, what do you do with your internally generated funds? What do you do? I have brought you, like Kolebu. We invested almost $80 million into Kolebu, rehabilitated their, theaters, so many things. And we still have a program of rehabilitating old structures, of providing new equipment. Then when the money came, they started thinking about themselves first.
Medical personnel present at the conference also tasked the government to do more to support efforts of health institutions while taking a second look at policies that slow productivity.
ECOWAS is considering the establishment of a national early warning and response mechanism system to help members detect conflict in their early stages so as to prevent them. The mechanism is expected to help resolve conflicts before they degenerate into full-blown violence such as civil wars and other genocide.
At the 32nd Ordinary Meeting of ECOWAS Mediation and Security Council, members were urged to take a critical look at the draft policy framework for the establishment of the National Early Warning and Response Mechanism in order to make informed recommendations to their heads of state and government for approval. President of the ECOWAS Commission, Kadri Desiree Wadrago, said ECOWAS is committed to supporting member states in addressing security challenges in the region, hence the need for the mechanism. The mechanism would equip member states, though not necessarily the security service, with early conflict warning databases that would monitor the security situation in the sub-region and can be used to predict, forecast and conclude on future conflict scenarios.
It is very important for us to now begin to focus on the practical steps we will take to make sure that this ECOWAS of ours, which is an ECOWAS of member states, becomes much more responsive to the needs of its people. I would also urge our security services not to see the national early warning and response systems when established as a threat to their traditional roles, but rather take advantage of the information that the system seeks to provide to find solutions to the threats that could lead to disastrous consequences. Maintaining peace and security in our region is a collective task. The earlier we cooperate with each other in all manners of security, particularly in the area of intelligence sharing and information gathering, the better it will be for all of us.
The 32nd Ordinary Meeting of the Commission's Mediation and Security Council was also used to deliberate on measures to consolidate peace and stability in Mali and Guinea-Bissau.
Of particular importance will be the proposal to you of a set of reform measures that need to be supported by ECOWAS and other members of the international community to enable Guinea-Bissau consolidate its democracy. They harped on the need for a political solution to the challenges in northern Mali and called on the government of Mali to take full responsibility for and expedite the preparation and conduct of the inclusive Malian dialogue.
The early warning and response mechanism would be presented to heads of state at the meeting in Accra on July 11 for adoption.
The Member of Parliament for Yendi has charged militant groups who use the name of Islam to commit heinous crimes to use the month of Ramadan to reflect soberly on their rules of engagement. He said the Holy Quran frowns on the use of violence against people and called for an end to such acts. Alhaji Mohammed Habibu Tijani was speaking in Parliament on the significance of the Ramadan celebration amongst the Muslim community.
DMP Alhaji Mohammed Habibu Tijani was concerned about the use of the Holy Quran by groups like Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda and other Islamic groups as catalysts to commit crimes.
On this special occasion, let me make a clarion call to the Islamic militants and extremists the world over. The name of this month, that is the Al-Qaeda in Pakistan, the Taliban in Afghanistan, the Al-Shabaab of Somalia, the Boko Haram of Nigeria, the Sunni ISIS and Sheikh and Shia of Iraq, the resurgence of Syria and Assad governments, the political players in Libya and Egypt, the Hamas of Palestine and the Israelis. The call to them is to have a sober reflection of their rules of engagement and set aside violence and abuse of human rights and be guided and admonished by the Holy Quran and Hadith of the Prophet and the conventional and more acceptable ways of these contemporary times in addressing their concerns.
Member of Parliament for Asawasi and Majority Chief Whip Alhaji Muntaka Mohammed Mubarak expressed disappointment about the spirit of conflict amongst Muslim groups and countries during the holy month of Ramadan.
It is a month that we are supposed to be sober as Muslims. We are supposed to be reflective over the past 11 months. And we are supposed to be forgiving, and we are supposed not to be engaging ourselves in unnecessary arguments. It is surprising that it is rather in the month of Ramadan that you are seeing some confrontation between the Palestinians and Israel. You are seeing some heavy confrontation in Iraq. You are seeing a lot of, and you then ask yourself, why? These are supposed to be, most of them are supposed to be predominantly Muslims. So those who are fighting and those who are being fought against are all supposed to be Muslims.
Other members also wished all Muslims happy Ramadan. Also in Parliament, the Speaker has charged leadership of the majority side to ensure the Youth and Sports Minister provides an answer to a question posed by the MP for Nsawam Medwejiri, Frank Anodompre, about plans to empower the National Youth Authority to addressing unemployment amongst the youth. The Deputy Minister of Education, Samuel Kujeto Ablakwa, was also on the floor to answer questions from members on the fencing of Mankranso Senior High School and the accreditation of the SDA College of Education at Aguna Ashanti.
We have more news coming up after the break. Do stay tuned. To avoid a repeat of the chaotic traffic situation during the last ECOWAS Heads of State meeting in Accra last May, the police have issued a traffic alert days ahead of an upcoming meeting this weekend. The summit, to be hosted by ECOWAS Chairman President John Mahama on July 10 and 11, will, among others, discuss concerns over the spread of Ebola in West Africa. Though the traffic arrangements are not so different from what pertained during the last ECOWAS meeting, the Inspector General of Police Mohammed Al-Hassan at a news briefing on Tuesday said a lot more police officers will be deployed to redirect motorists.
The last ECOWAS summit in Accra on May 30 left motorists stranded in gridlocks for several hours. The situation was so bad, government was forced to apologize. Though the main dual carriage route from the Kotoka International Airport will again be closed this weekend, the commander of the Motor Transport and Traffic Department says alternative routes have been designated well in advance.
During at any operational periods, traffic will be very tense because a lot of people will come to town, especially when a Friday is involved, and we will be compelled to close certain routes and regulate certain routes. For example, when you are coming from airport up to the Movenpick Hotel, one road will be closed to general motoring public. I mean, one side of the road, there are dual carriage roads, so one side of the dual carriage will be closed to motorists, and the other will be reserved for the dignitaries. If you are coming from Labadi up to Akwaje interchange, one carriage will be closed to the motoring public and one reserved for the dignitaries who will be living around the area, who will be coming to the Movenpick Hotel. So what we want the public to do is to cooperate with us. And anywhere that we decide to divert or close a road, there will be police presence. And the public must listen to the policeman on the ground.
Despite the chaos that characterized the last ECOWAS summit, the IGP, who was also at the news briefing, says police is confident the arrangements for this weekend's meeting will be more efficient.
Wednesday, that is from tomorrow, we'll see a lot of arrivals before the summit. And so it is our responsibility to ensure that we provide general security in the metropolis. We are going to increase police visibility. We are going to patrol a lot of streets and then the communities to ensure that any criminal that want to take advantage of this summit to cause trouble in town will be able to deal with them ruthlessly. All the 7 divisional commanders and over 30 district commanders will all be deployed during this period. You know, most of personnel that are on leave, we are going to call all of them in to ensure that we'll show effective presence. You know, we are having not less than 21 countries, ECOWAS countries, and then other African countries coming on this summit. So we want to make sure that we provide enough security, you know, to curb other activities like robbery and, you know, crimes that are not known, because people are coming from outside. So we expect that there will be also foreign type of crimes that may emerge. So we are prepared, police, military, and everybody, to make sure that, and then the general public, will intensify our information system, intelligence system, to make sure that we provide everybody the needed security.
Motorists were also advised to take note of the arrangements and plan alternative routes before embarking on any journey. Though the summit takes place on Thursday and Friday, the police say the traffic arrangements will be in place until Sunday, July 13.
The Wa Municipal Assembly has constructed a 6-unit classroom block for the Wa Health Assistance Training School valued at 305,103 Ghana cedis. It follows a series of reports by Joy News on the challenges faced by the school's students and tutors.
Since its establishment in 2006, the Wa Health Assistant Training School has been operating from temporary structures, with tutors and students having to shuffle between the aged GES building and the regional hospital's canteen for academic work. The new 6-unit classroom block therefore comes as great relief. At a ceremony to formally hand over the school, the Wa Municipal Chief Executive Isaku Nuhu Putia thanked the chiefs and people of Peresei for the support given them in the acquisition of the land.
It will benefit the people. Because of this project, we've just been told that the health assistance school also has an accreditation to run general nursing program. The whole of the region, we don't have any general nursing school in the region. And this is an opportunity for us to have it here in Wa. And once we have that opportunity, our people will no more travel to Pintamko, Kumasi and other places to attain this general nursing certificate. They can have that here. And once the school is also here, the possibility of us retaining these nurses in Wa here is greater.
The principal for the Wa Health Assistance Training School, George Senatum, said the facility signifies a rebirth of the school and commended Joy News for highlighting their plight.
Please, let's not rest on our hours. We still have to push and push hard. Perhaps if we make some noise, some reasonable noise, people will come to. And I'm sure this is what has yielded the dividend we are beginning to realize. And I remember, I don't know how the MCE, Honorable Nuhu Putia, got wind, and I want to believe that he would have seen some of our clips mounted by Joy News, and that gave him the urge and then the motivation to want to get to the school.
The Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice will need some 8 million Ghana cedis this year to function effectively, according to Member of Parliament for Ofinto South and ranking member on the Legal and Constitutional Affairs Committee, Ben Abdullah Banda. The human rights body was not giving its estimated budgetary allocation of 19 million Ghana cedis to run its operations. He tells Joy News the current predicament of Shraj is indicative of government's inability to prioritize corruption. He spoke on today's Big Story.
corruption, the effort should be sustained enough. The anti-corruption institution should be well researched, such that it can fight and decisively deal with the corruption issue very well. So that if it's like the efforts are piecemeal, the efforts are disjointed, the resources that are supposed to go to the anti-corruption institution to enable them to function efficiently and deal with corrupt practices and corrupt officials decisively, they cannot do them. Then it means Ghana, we can't prioritize our needs and wants very well. But I'm holding the budgets of Shraj.
How much do they need?
What they needed was 16 million.
Okay.
A little over 16 million, but they ended up getting a little over 9 million.
Interesting.
We bring you business news after the break. The ECOWAS task force working on a single currency for member states has presented its recommendations. Vice President Kwesi Arthur, who received the recommendations on behalf of President Mahama, the Flagstaff House, implored them to deliver within the time frame. Gifty Andwapia has more.
The task force of ECOWAS Monetary Cooperation Program, chaired by Ghana's Finance Minister Seth Tekpe, also has membership comprising Niger's Finance Minister, Central Bank governors of the 8 member states, the West African Monetary Agency, as well as representatives of the President of Ghana and Niger. The job of the task force is to rationalize institutions and revise a roadmap to the ECOWAS single currency program.
The heads of state agreed to set a goal for 2020 to meet the convergence criteria either before or by that date. So the work of the task force is to look at the actions that will be required. So there are 2 elements. First are the details of what has to be done, which is a revision. You'll recall from the presentation of our own budgets here at home, we often present the primary and secondary criteria, and that's the first element that was reviewed. The committee also reviewed institutional arrangements and their strengthening, and the third element was a roadmap, to achieve this goal.
An extraordinary session of heads of state and governments in October last year appointed Mahamudu Issoufou of Niger and President John Mahama to oversee a speedy creation of the common currency for ECOWAS. Vice President Emisa Arthur expressed confidence in the expertise available to expedite action.
Now we brought the governor for the BCIO so that we together form a strong monetary union. We should not exceed the mandate that the authority had given us, that the full union would be in 2020. And I know that we agreed on that. So I see that WAMI and WAMA are also here, and I know that we have the technical expertise within these 2 agencies to be able to work and achieve the 2020 target.
The recommendations come after the task force held its second meeting here in Accra. Details of the recommendation were, however, disclosed to the Vice President in a closed session. Gifty Andwapia, Joy News, Flagstaff House.
Government says it has no intention of withdrawing the fertilizer subsidy program this farming season, downplaying fears by peasant farmers about the delay in the release of the subsidy. According to the farmers, they are now purchasing fertilizer twice the previous amount, a development they have warned could trigger an increase in prices of basic foods. But Deputy Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Ahmed Yakubu Al-Hassan, explains to Joy Business the delay is because government is yet to settle debt owed suppliers for the previous farming season. Dr. Al-Hassan is however unable to tell when exactly government will resume the subsidy program. Over 1.2 million more individuals are now accessing the internet on their mobile phones, bringing the total number to approximately 14.25 million. The total number of mobile phone subscribers in the country has also hit 28.8 million after about 148,000 more joined. This is according to the National Communications Authority's mobile voice and data subscription statistics for the month of April. Insurance experts say the sector can only benefit from the emerging oil and gas industry if they build capacity in engineering insurance. At a workshop for insurers in Accra, speakers also urged insurance companies to venture into engineering fields such as building and construction to ensure the growth of the sector.
Sector, although growing steadily, has not seen much involvement in the engineering fields, especially the oil and gas sector. The inadequate capital and absence of the needed technical know-how to ensure the engineering sector remains a challenge for many local insurance companies. The Ghana Insurers Association, in collaboration with their reinsurance partners and CARE, is therefore engaging insurers in a 4-day training to get them equipped for the engineering sector.
Engineering is one of the complex areas of insurance. Other classes is more easier, but engineering is a complex issue. When you talk of oil and gas, it's interrelated. Before you can access the platform, you must do a lot of engineering. When you are talking about bridge construction, it's talking about engineering. Your bidding is engineering. Road construction, you are talking about engineering. So there are a lot of things that's embedded in engineering, and you find that is a field that don't have enough technical know-how. And the reason why we are saying is that we want to make them trainers of trainers. What I mean by trainers of trainers is that when they get back to the office, they should be able to impart the knowledge on their colleagues. Not only on their colleagues, they should be able to utilize it.
He adds that the country stands to benefit hugely in ensuring the oil and gas sector.
Ghana is an emerging economy. You know what I'm saying? With the oil and gas, everything over there, a lot of people are coming. And then a lot of insurance companies are participating in erection oil risks, in bridges construction, in a lot of things. I learned there is a power station that is going to be built in Ghana too, which is undergoing construction. All these things is a challenge to the market. But if a white man come, they will bamboozle with something and they go with all the premium back to their country. Because as they are coming, some people that are coming to...
Government has called for an end to the talk of gloom and despondency in the country, insisting it is working hard to fix the ailing economy. At a news conference this morning to demonstrate its achievements, Deputy Information and Media Relations Minister Felix Hwachofosu detailed a wide range of projects and plans he says are being undertaken to improve the well-being of Ghanaians. He says government will not relent on the promise to deliver a better Ghana, describing the country's current situation as a temporary challenge.
The news conference touched on what the government was doing on energy supply, road infrastructure improvement, health, education, among others. On health, the Deputy Minister said government's investment in the sector has already started yielding results across the country.
The government is addressing the healthcare needs of our people in a comprehensive manner. The infrastructure, equipment, and personnel needs of the sector are all receiving urgent attention. As far as infrastructure is concerned, the following projects are being embarked upon to expand access to health care for our people in all parts of the country. These projects are as follows: the 600-bed University of Ghana Teaching Hospital, the 420-bed Ridge Hospital Expansion Project, the 500-bed Military Hospital Project in Kumasi, the second phase of the Tamale Teaching Hospital, after the completion of the 400-bed first phase of the project. And you will recall, ladies and gentlemen, that President Mahama commissioned this project when he toured the northern region a few months ago. There is also the police hospital project, which is expected to be expanded up to 600 beds, and then the Upper West Regional Hospital.
On the road sector, he said work on the Gang of Four road, which have stalled for years, was near completion.
At the basic level alone, enrollment has increased by 829,625 in the last 4 years, owing largely to the underlisted interventions aimed at guaranteeing access to education for all our children. A total of 2,064 basic school projects have been under construction since the period under review. 432 of these were funded from regular Government of Ghana sources. The remaining 1,632 are being funded by GET Fund. More than half of these projects have been completed and handed over to the education authorities. Over 100 million exercise books have been distributed since the NDC government started the free exercise book intervention.
According to him, a chunk of government expenditure has gone into educational infrastructure, which has improved access for many children countrywide, reiterating that the NDC administration remains committed to working hard to make life better for the Ghanaian.
The current nationwide power supply challenges have been the result of the unavailability of one, the 330 megawatt TAPO plant at Abuaze, two, the 110 megawatts of 110 megawatts of the 220 megawatt TICO plant at Abuaze, and the low water inflows at Bui, which do not permit all the 3 units to be operated during the peak period. The good news, however, ladies and gentlemen, is that the TICO unit, which was down for some time now, resumed full operation a few days ago. One of the 2 TAPCO units is also expected to resume operation very soon. The other TAPCO unit is expected to resume operation by the end of July. We are monitoring progress of works on these plants to ensure that they are restored to service in decent time. These have been the result of intense efforts on the part of government to resolve temporary challenges in the power generation sector.
Government says the Meet the Press series would be maintained to update the citizenry on happenings in government.
And that'll be all for business. Government has accused striking Polytechnic lecturers of bad faith. The teachers have for close to 2 months stayed away from the lecture halls to back demands for the payment of the 2013-2014 book and research allowance, which government has replaced with the National Research Fund. Deputy Minister of Education Samuel Kudzoto-Ablakwa told journalists today the allowance is not even due the lecturers until the close of the academic year. According to him, government is awaiting the ruling of the Human Rights Court on the legality or otherwise of the action before proceeding on its next line of action.
The strike by POTAC has already forced polytechnics to close down, threatening the fate of final year students and the academic calendar. The Human Rights Court, which is yet to rule on the legality or otherwise of their action by the union, is expected to come out with a verdict soon. But Samuel Kudzoto-Ablakwa said POTAC's action is stampeding government's effort to establish a national research fund.
As we speak, government of Ghana does not owe salaries, does not owe allowances of lecturers. The book and research allowance is paid once a year, only once a year, at the end of the academic year. Last year, for the 2012-2013 academic year, the book and research allowance was paid in September, more specifically on the 30th of September 2013. So the standard practice has been that the book and research allowance is paid either in August or September. There have been years that it has been paid in October. So the question to ask is that, is it fair that you are receiving your salaries every month? The book and research allowance payment is not outstanding. We are not there yet. We propose a reform of the book and research allowance in the mode of its disbursement. We are saying that we want to establish a national research fund.
He says government would continue to dialogue with all members of the group to impress on them to return to the classroom,
where lecturers can submit their research proposals and access the fund. Because we have noticed that the old regime or the existing regime does not portend well for research. We spread the money thin to everybody, lecturers, non-academic staff. Everybody is taking book and research allowance. And many lecturers who are interested in research have complained that the money has become so paltry because of the way we do it. And what happens everywhere in the world is that there's a research fund. You submit your research proposal, you attach your budget, and you can get good money for research. The unions have welcomed this reform, saying that it is good. The bone of contention is that they want us to still keep the book and research allowance and then look for money elsewhere to populate the National Research Fund. That is where the difficulty is, because the book and research allowance, if those monies are for research, then let's have that money placed in the fund and you access the fund. POTAC declared a strike on 15th May, and they are saying that they want commitment, that government will pay the book and research allowance in the old format when we get there, when we get to September. That is why the National Labour Commission declared the POTAC strike as illegal and dragged POTAC to court.
There are already fears university lecturers may also strike soon over the same research allowance issue.
Rwandan President Paul Kagame is in the country to join in the celebration of the 80th birthday and book launch of 8th Nigerian playwright Wole Soyinka. Giftanda Pia has the rest of the story.
Paul Kagame arrived at about 11 a.m. on Tuesday, accompanied by some aides and journalists. He was received by officials of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, headed by the Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Ambassador Kwesi Kwartey. The Rwandan president inspected a guard of honor mounted by the Navy, accompanied by a 21-gun salute. He later called on President John Mahama at the Flagstaff House, where the two leaders were engaged in a brief exchange of pleasantries. The president of the 149th largest country in the world is expected to return home on Wednesday. Gifty Andopia, Joy News, Flagstaff House.
Let's first of all talk about the World Cup semi-final that's ongoing at the moment. And well, I'm feeling quite heavy wearing the Brazilian jersey, but I have to do it certainly. Brazil are losing by 5-0. This is absolutely unprecedented. It's not happened, and the Brazilian team at the moment are in shock. The fans are in absolute shock. How the goals rolled in by Muller, by Cruz, by Khedira, and they're ongoing. The painful thing at this point, and the reason why some of these fans are crying, is the Brazilian team doesn't even look like they're going to get a goal or two. It rather looks like Germany can go ahead and beat Brazil by 10-0. That is just the picture. Just have a look at that. These are the top scorers in the World Cup. Certainly, Klose is now up with 16 goals. He's broken the record Ronaldo of Brazil. So not only killing the Brazilians out there in Brazil, but also beating a record that's been held by a Brazilian Ronaldo for some years now. That's exactly what's happening there. We're yet to find out what happens in the second half. Let's talk a bit now here in the country. And midfielder Yahya Mohammed could don the phobia colours next season in the first Capital Plus Premier League after confirming talks with Hearts of Oak, saying that the talks with Hearts of Oak are actually underway. Kotoko have failed to renew his contract, paving way for suitors to seek his services like Hearts of Oak.
Controversial midfielder Yahya Mohammed has confirmed to Joy Sports he is in talks with Ghana Premier League giants Hearts of Oak following his contract expiration with rivals Asante Kotoko. The former Oginese player is a free agent after failing to renew his contract at Kotoko, though the Porcupine Warriors have reported him to FIFA over a reportedly pre-contractual agreement with Libyan side Al Ittihad and slapped an indefinite ban on him. However, the ban is not effective after the expiration of his contract, and the 2014 Ghana Chan squad member is looking to be courted by a flock of clubs seeking to acquire his signature, and has confirmed Kotoko's bitter rivals Hearts of Oak are in talks with him. Hearts are returning to Accra in the upcoming season as they are built to play in the CAF Confederations Cup, and they have targeted acquiring experienced hands to influence their course. Talks, though, have halted pending the arrival of a new coach at Accra Hearts of Oak.
More on the local front, and Black Stars defender John Painsil has ended his search for top-flight football in South Africa after he signed a 2-year contract with PSL club Maritzburg United. Painsil joins the team of choice after a year's stay with Santos FC.
Ghana defender John Painsil has signed a 2-year contract with South African club Maritzburg United. The former Fulham player joins the PSL club as a free agent, having completed his 1-year contract with lower-tier club Santos FC. Painsil concluded negotiations and signed a 2-year contract to become the first off-season signing of the team of choice on Monday. The experienced right-back wants to prove himself once more again at the top-flight level following his brief stint in South African second tier with Santos. He will be joining compatriot Awal Mohammed at Maritzburg United, who finished 10th in the South African League last season. Painsil is still yet to be unveiled and handed the squad number at his new club.
Right, so the Dutch are getting themselves ready for their semi-final against Argentina, and they have been really preparing. Just have a look at what's happening in their camp.
Dutch are on the move in every way in Brazil. Back from Salvador on Saturday, into training on Sunday in Rio, before travelling on Monday to Sao Paulo for Wednesday's semi-final against Argentina. Life's been a whirl for goalkeeper Tim Krul, criticised by some for his gamesmanship against Costa Rica, praised by others for his penalty heroics.
I got my hand to the first one, and I was a bit angry at myself, as it was a huge chance to make my mark. So I was very happy to save the second penalty. Then, to save the last one, and see all the guys running towards me, with Dirk Kuyt, the first one, to jump into my arms, it's something you usually only see on television.
Well, that'll be all for sports tonight. I'm George Adi Jr. Israel will join you with some more. Have a good night.
Black Stars captain Esomajang has broken his silence on the accident involving his friend and music partner Castro. The footballer, who also doubles as a musician, has in a statement confirmed Castro and a female companion, Jane Bandu, were with him at a holiday resort in Adan. It appears celebrity marriages are never meant to last. Forget where the celebrities are located. After actress Juliet Ibrahim went public recently to announce her divorce from her husband, hip-life artist called Kessie has also announced his 6-year-old marriage has come to an end.
I feel you so appointing,
Kessie has finally joined a long list of divorced celebrities, although it is not.
That's it for Showbiz. And that's it for the bulletin. Before we go a quick run through our top stories, the Ministry of Health says final results on tests suspected in case of Ebola came out negative. Government downplays talk of doom and gloom resulting from current economic challenges, insisting it is working hard to fix the economy. Government is accused striking Polytechnic teachers of bad faith on their demand for book and research allowances. Ahead of another ECOWAS summit in Accra this weekend, the police is advising motorists to take note of roads that will be closed to the public to prevent repeat of last May's traffic nightmare.